Welcome to Capital City News, your source for staying informed and engaged with Salt Lake City government. If you missed last week's episode, I'm the new full-time host of Salt Lake City TV and part-time frozen yogurt enthusiast, Yusuf Mong. In this week's episode, we take a look at a new pedestrian bridge, talk about spring runoff, and a local connection to the voice of Donald Duck. We have a lot to get through this week, but first, our look-backs, our look-aheads, and our legislative update.
At its March 7th meeting, the City Council discussed a proposal to change the city's Accessory Dwelling Unit, or ADU, ordinance, received a briefing on the Glendale Regional Park Plan, and the Council held a public hearing on the proposed Northpoint Area Plan, where over 60 people spoke and voiced opinions about the future development. The Council also approved a resolution to hold the 2023 municipal elections as ranked choice voting, received a briefing on Budget Amendment Number 5, and they made ARPA grant funding decisions. To learn more about these issues or any others, please visit slc.gov/council. Mayor Aaron Mendenhall, Councilmember Chris Wharton, and other city leaders joined Black and African American community leaders to formally honor and celebrate Black History Month at Calvary Baptist Church. After the proclamation, event attendees participated in breakout discussions about housing, homelessness, policing, and more. Recently, the Redevelopment Agency of Salt Lake City, or RDA, and other funding partners gathered to celebrate the opening of Colony B. Located at 228 West and 1300 South, this is a transit-oriented residential development built with affordability in mind. Local city and community leaders recently celebrated the groundbreaking of the Other Side Village. The Other Side Village is a master-planned neighborhood that provides affordable, permanent, quality housing for people coming out of chronic homelessness.
Hey guys, it's construction season. It's construction season and it's construction season in Salt Lake City.
Our construction project highlight today is the 300 North pedestrian bridge. This week, crews will be framing windows, installing roofing, and adding power and lights to the towers. Although the bridge has been raised, it remains closed to the public. Tentatively, the bridge will be completed by summer of 2023.
Amazing. Remember, if you want other updates on this and other city projects, feel free to keep tuning in or check slc.gov/construction. For our interview this week, we speak to Salt Lake City Department of Public Utilities Director Laura Briefer about spring runoff.
As we all know and can see by looking to the mountains to the east of us, we have a lot of snow in the mountains, and that's been great for this year's water supply. But we are a little bit concerned about how that water all comes off the mountains when the temperatures warm up. Salt Lake City Department of Public Utilities, in coordination with Salt Lake County Flood Control, are in the process of doing many proactive things to mitigate any potential of flooding this year. That includes operational actions, such as ensuring that there isn't debris in our streams that could block grates in the stream. We're also working together on flood control plans and doing a lot of coordination. We're cleaning out storm drains, making sure grates are clean as well. It's important to note too that Salt Lake City is proactive in making sure that there's space in our upper reservoirs to capture runoff water as it comes down this spring and hold it up high for a while as we have peak runoff. Little Dell Reservoir was constructed just for that purpose after the 1983 floods in collaboration with Salt Lake County Flood Control, Metropolitan Water District of Salt Lake and Sandy, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. It's a very important infrastructure for us in this situation. There's a difference between spring runoff when the snow melts and runs into all of the drainages across the valley, and what happens when we have our monsoon storm events. During spring runoff, the most impacted areas of our community are going to be those areas that are low-lying in a floodplain or are developed in very close proximity to open waterways. We do want to make sure residents who are in close proximity to the streams and waterways through our city, that'd be Emigration Creek, Red Butte Creek, Parley's Creek, City Creek, and the Jordan River, we want to make sure that they are preparing themselves for when that water runs off and enters into these waterways. Those waterways will be flowing swiftly, they might be deep, So first and foremost, we want to make sure that people and their pets are safe around these waterways. Practice good judgment. Don't jump in the water after a pet if your pet jumps in. And the other thing you can do is start preparing your home for the potential for higher water in these streams. That includes acquiring sandbags. We have sandbags at our public utilities campus on West Temple, and putting them in strategic locations, ensuring that your gutters, and if you have sump pumps or French drains, making sure that those are well maintained. All of that will help mitigate any potential impact.
Now on to the History Minute, where we take a look at the voice of Donald Duck. And I know what you're thinking, can I do an impression? Yes. Will I do one? No, because I'm not going to embarrass myself publicly. Again.
Everyone's favorite down-on-his-luck duck, Donald Duck, has surprising roots in Salt Lake City. To tell the story, we go back to Salt Lake City in 1960 and the birth of a man named Tony Anselmo. Anselmo spent his childhood in Salt Lake City, and in 1964, at the age of 4, he went to a movie theater to see Walt Disney's production of Mary Poppins. From then on, he became fascinated with the entire process and devoted his childhood to drawing and making Super 8 short films. These drawings landed him a full scholarship at Cal Arts. By 1980, at the age of 20, he was a young animator working his dream job at Disney Studios. He worked on all of the Disney feature films as an animator through the 80s, but it was a friendship he struck with Clarence "Ducky" Nash that changed the trajectory of Anselmo's life forever. Clarence Nash was the original voice of Donald Duck, and for fun, Tony learned to imitate the voice of the character with tips and tricks from the man who originated it. In 1985, Nash passed away, and Tony was the natural choice to replace him, and he has been the official voice of Donald Duck ever since. To date, Tony Anselmo is also the only person to animate Donald and voice him in the same production, starting with 1990's production of The Prince and the Pauper. It's hard to imagine that a starry-eyed kid in a Salt Lake movie theater would become a Disney legend, but stranger things have happened.
That's it for another episode of Capital City News. Remember, the best way to stay informed is to stay engaged. You can do that by following us on social media at SLCGov, subscribing to us on YouTube, or tuning in to Channel 17. Reporting in from Liberty Park, I'm Yusuf Mong.